We're down in the caretaker's quarters, and I just wanted to point out all the features that we've added to this basement room where we're going to have somebody living full-time in an apartment. And behind me will be the kitchen, galley kitchen. And we've added a bunch of utilities in here. It's rough electric, rough plumbing are both done. Ventilation through the apartment. Over here we framed out a bathroom, and we've done the rough plumbing for that. Of course, since we're in a basement room, a lot of the utilities for the rest of the house are in the ceiling and going up. We did have to put some penetrations through the exterior wall, which of course is an issue in historic buildings because you don't want to change the appearance from the outside. But happily, this wall is hidden from the street view, and the penetrations are somewhat minimal. One for the furnace that is behind that wall for the caretaker's quarters. One for the fresh air coming in down here, and then we did 3 penetrations for air conditioner units. We have the air conditioning for the caretaker's quarters going out here, but there are 2 more condensers on the other side of this wall. And those air conditioning lines are actually coming through a chase, which is actually inside a fake downspout from the attic, supplying air conditioning for the first floor and second floor in this part of the house. We did expand these windows. I don't know if they were here the last time we filmed, but we put in, this one had a wood lintel on it, which we did not change, but we put in a new stone sill. We dropped the opening. We were thinking about doing 3 panes in the 2 different sashes so that it would look closer to the original window. But historic preservation guidelines are that if you're going to change the window altogether, and that is we made it much larger, okay, then you have to put in something that's totally different.
Why?
Because you want somebody who doesn't really know the building to look at the windows and say, oh, those are different. They're probably not original. So that's a visual clue that the windows are not original. We did a similar over here, except we kept the existing stone lintel and put in a new stone sill. Of course, in all the rooms you'll see the sprinklers for fire protection, and in some places it's done in the steel, the black steels, where it's exposed. Where it's covered with drywall, of course, we can just do it with plastic plumbing. Okay, so let's move on to the mechanical room. Look at the different mechanical features. Okay, so in the mechanical room, we were hoping to use just separate water heaters to accommodate the 8 guest rooms and caretaker's quarters and commercial kitchen. But we ended up not being able to use those because we just didn't have the chimney capacity. The boiler takes up all the chimney capacity. So we ended up putting in this $3,000, $4,000 super efficient, super high, fast heating water heater that's electronically controlled, and Lord help us if it ever breaks down. Actually, a pretty fine water heater. It'll serve us well.
What was here before?
It was basically just the boiler, and we ended up adding the plumbing. We're putting in all new plumbing. Air conditioning, we're supplying air conditioning to the dining room through the floor, and then water softener. I suspect that there was a flue for a boiler behind this wall. We suspect that there was a boiler in the 1850s portion of the house, and this is probably a flue going to a chimney, and the chimney's long gone. The sprinkler system is installed. This goes to house drinking water. The rest of this is the sprinkler, and it's not that complicated. It was explained to me, but basically, should there be a fire, you know, the sprinklers are fed through this line, and then it's just distributed through the house. On the other side of this wall is a furnace for the caretaker's quarters. So gas furnace with air conditioning. We do see some things coming down from elsewhere in the house. Not obvious, but this is the condensate from all the air conditioners that are in the second floor. Is going to be coming down here through down into a drain. We poured a concrete pad for the furnace. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and this area is where I think the boiler was for a central heating system that was installed in the 19th century. And we'll be furring out the walls so that we have a nice interior passageway to use. We're sealing the mechanical room with a fire-rated wall. Of course, that's required by code. Laundry room. Turns out the laundry room's getting quite a bit more than just the laundry. We'll be putting washers and dryers along here. Electrical distribution will be here. The conduit for the electricity comes in here. We'll be putting in a grease trap for the commercial kitchen upstairs, mop sink, and ice maker. This will be air handling this goes to the dining room, and then this goes upstairs into the different rooms above us. But the air conditioning unit is this guy, and he will be installed over there in that corner. These are the for the 5 rooms. Let me think. 4 rooms. So we have 4 guest rooms upstairs. So they have this actually branches out the different air conditioning, the Freon for the different rooms as needed.
Will they control the temperature then? Or?
The guests will control the temperature individually. Yeah.
One air conditioner unit, but with separate Freon feeds.
Yeah. So this will go to one condenser. One condenser will supply the 4 individual rooms. Okay. We decided to put all the low voltage wiring on this wall, so all our Cat 6 for internet, and then the cable, I forget what this is called. Whatever, cable for cable TV. A lot of utilities went in there. Upstairs. Again, we have the accessible guest room, and we have everything roughed out down here except for electricity. So we have all the plumbing roughed in. We have the air conditioning roughed in. So this unit gets a air conditioning unit here. This goes to the air conditioning upstairs. We'll have an accessible bathroom with accessible shower, toilet, hand sink. We did have to drop the ceiling a bit more than we wanted in this area so that we could accommodate all of the exhaust fans for the different rooms. We've got 3 bathrooms in this small area and then a commercial kitchen, so we needed 4 exhaust fans. The other thing we did is we brought the exhaust fan, the exhaust for the fan in the bedroom upstairs down here. And they all went out here. So, and right here where my hand was a window from way back when, and that had been converted to an exhaust fan for the previous bathroom that was here. So we were able to get 5 exhaust ducts out that small opening. So we did not need to make another penetration, which worked out pretty well. But the cost was that we had to lower the ceiling to get all the ductwork through here. And that worked out okay. In here, the bedroom has the original ceiling. We did find that this beam that goes through the middle of the building was sagging on the order of an inch, inch and a half. So we propped that up here, and that load is transferred to another post that was in the basement, and for which we poured a new pad. So we were originally planning on using this space as a closet for audio-visual, or not audio-visual, but audio equipment and computer equipment, but we ended up having to dedicate it to air conditioning, unfortunately. So that's the air return from, actually the air return starts here, that goes down to the air conditioning, and then goes down into the basement to that unit that I pointed out that's not installed yet. So yeah, drop ceilings, unfortunately, but you know, these are public restrooms, so the ceiling height is not really too much of an issue. So this will be our kitchen area, and so we're putting hand washing station here, where you wash your hands. Then there's going to be a slop sink, and then a dishwasher. Okay, so it's very, very tight, but that's what works in this space. And some shelves up above. And then on this side, we're putting in a food preparation area with a prep sink in this corner, a refrigerator, and then some cabinets underneath. Exhaust fan for the kitchen. You can see all the rough plumbing for the bathroom upstairs. To save space, we're putting our radiator up on the ceiling, which the heating contractor doesn't like, but we just don't have the room. Let's take a quick look in the parlor, the reception room, and the dining room, and then we'll go upstairs and we'll show you the biggest problem that we found so far. We'll start with the parlor. This was something that we had planned on, which was widening this passageway. The walls got a little bit funny because when they added on this wing, this wall impinged on this passageway somewhat and made it a little bit narrower than it had to be. But regardless, we had the masons come in and chop away the stone and widened it enough so that we can get an accessible passageway. It's kind of fun to look at the different layers on the masonry. So you have the masonry wall, then you have just a rough coat of plaster, then you have a fine coat of plaster. Okay, and there might actually be rough coat and then a second coat of plaster, then the fine plaster. And what was done at some point is this linen was put on the walls, probably to cover cracks in the plaster, or make it look prettier. The linen might actually, I don't know what the purpose of it was, but it's kind of generating a painting nightmare because the linen cracks, and those cracks show up through the paint. So, and it bubbles. So where it's detached from the plaster, it bubbles and it cracks the paint. We're not going to correct that right now. We are going to spend some money on making the trim look good, like all this wood baseboard and the wood casings. What I wanted to look at in this room is what we're doing in the ceiling. And the major effort is getting the air conditioning in these public spaces. That all comes from the attic, where the air handler, the second air handler is. There's a secondary floor installed between this room and the bedroom. And it's often done for tiling. You know, you put down a layer of concrete and then you put tile on the concrete. But when this was built, it was done for soundproofing. Okay, so they just added a layer of the old concrete mortar that they used, it's, I pointed out because it's actually a little painful to work with, but whatever.
Because there's what?
Well, because when you drill through it, it breaks apart really easily and it just generates a lot of dust. Okay. So, yeah. You see the gas stub out for the old gas chandelier in this room. And then behind that, you see the knob and tube wiring. The problem with all that is that we thought we could ignore it. We can't really. We need to replace all the wiring in the house. Oh, so wow. We will be doing, I've already signed a change order to spend some extra money, probably $40,000 to update all the wiring. But that's a good thing because we'll have all updated wiring throughout the whole house. Mm-hmm. We put in we dropped the ceiling at the entrance just a little bit to accommodate air conditioning. You can see that we're not losing any of the plaster molding. So the ceiling in the reception room, what's interesting about it is that there is a bathroom above us right here that was installed in 1928. And you can see the bottom of a bathtub. What we discovered when we opened up the ceiling is that the plumbers installing the bathroom in the 1920s really compromised the ceiling joists. And as a result, we're going to have to restructure this part of the ceiling with some sort of scaffolding in the attic that we can use to hang the ceiling from. I do not know how that's going to work, but we have an engineer and architect working on it. And until then, we can't close up this area, unfortunately. But that's all related to a problem that we found with the pitch in the plumbing upstairs, the pitch of the drain plumbing. And we'll take a look at that when we get upstairs. I might have pointed this out before. This is the chase that we're using for the 4 bedrooms upstairs. Most of the plumbing coming through here, a bit of electricity, and then the drain. The other thing in this area is we removed a very poorly functioning coat closet that was right here. And you can see it's not really deep enough to be a coat closet, but we were using it for that, and it was designed for that, I think. We're going to open this up so that we can take advantage of the closet that's on the other side of this wall and use this as a check-in station, and put all our audio equipment here too, because I think if any audio equipment needs to be adjusted, like we're going to have speakers in the ceilings. So if any audio equipment needs to be adjusted, this will be a good place for the owners to come in and do the adjustment. What is now a closet, it's not totally obvious, but there used to be a door here, and this door led to a stairwell that went downstairs into that boiler room. Okay? And this is in the old part of the house, remember. So that would have gone down into the boiler room. That stairwell is long gone. But at some point it got sealed up and made into a closet. And we're using this as a chase for the house because it's one of the few spots in the house where we have a direct shot from the basement to the attic. And we've got a gas line, we've got a condensate line for the air conditioning, and then of course sprinklers. We've got some of the, we'll have a lot of electricity running through here and the low voltage wiring. We'll open this up and we'll have a little area in here that'll be accessible from the opposite side. Sure. And then we'll just install the door back here. The other reason we're changing the configuration is that this will be a seating area for the cafe, and it just does not make sense, you know, the way we're going to lay out the furniture it doesn't make sense to have this as a passageway or access point. Okay, it makes much more sense to have it on the other side. And then the other thing is that the cafe that we're planning on operating will be right through here, so we can also use this as a cash register for the cafe.
Okay.
So and the kitchen is through that door. So
Will this door be there?
yeah, we'll keep the door here. It's an original door. It was probably an exterior door, and we'll probably just always have it open.
Okay.
So, okay. So in this room, this is where we ran into the problems. What we've done in here is we've roughed in the bathroom for room 202. And what we discovered is that the bathroom for room 200, the cast iron pipe came through here, but it was draining uphill, okay, which seemed to work a little bit, but in the long run, it's just not a good idea. The reason that it was sloping uphill is that this part of the house has sagged. The roof was understructured. So what they did with the roof is they put in a beam to hold the roof up in the middle and supported that beam on the ceiling joists, which bared weight on these walls and then pushed the floor down. And our original, we noticed this, I think maybe on our first or second visit to the building. We always thought that if it's not moving, we don't have to change it because it's been here for 150 years. Let's just leave it. Well, once we opened everything up, it got to be a little more complicated. It's a little worse than we thought, and especially since these joists have just been hacked to bits by plumbers. You know, all these chunks taken out. So we hired an engineer and an architect to take a look at it, and they don't like it. We're gonna build a structure in the attic, and we're going to suspend or hang the middle of these joists from that structure in the attic. The nice thing is that now we're sure to have this plumbing drain, which was an issue before. So here's the plumbing cutting over. So we brought it from over there down here. Okay, this is the masonry wall. And then it jogs down into that chase that I pointed out earlier. The only complication in doing this was that all the cast iron was embedded in concrete, so they had to chip that out, but they got it done. What was interesting about bringing the plumbing over from the other side of the building, 201, this is 203, okay? So this goes over to that chase that runs by the fireplace in the reception room. What's funny about this that we discovered is that they built the masonry wall up so high, then they put down sleepers, like a ring joist, and they hung the floor joist on that sleeper, and then they continued building the masonry wall. So the masonry wall is actually a combination of wood and limestone. It's not just limestone because they did put the wood in the walls so that you could hang the furring. For this, what was nice is that we got to drill right through wood as opposed to drilling through the masonry wall. Here you see how we're sealing up the passageway. So there were closet doors, actually passageways between the rooms, and closet doors. So this doorway we're actually framing up, and we're putting material in there to insulate. This door, we really, because of the layout of the bathroom, we're just turning it into a wall. But on the other side, interestingly, we're fixing the door in place, and we'll be doing that here as well. We're fixing the door in place. So we're taking the original door and we're just fixing it here. More insulation for soundproofing, but fixing the door here so that it's no longer used, but it is at least you knew that something was there.
Yeah.
Okay. We preserved the casing. We preserved the door. We'll do the same with this door.
Sure.
The air conditioning comes for the parlor and the reception room. Comes down through these chases that we built, and we built them in ways that are sensitive to the architecture of the room. You know, we basically framed the doorway in here between this abandoned chimney and this chase. In the room over here, we in 201, we actually had to do quite a large chase to get the air conditioning into the reception room. But again, we framed that window in there, and I don't, you know, once it's sealed up, I don't think that you'll ever notice that it was there. This was a passageway to this is bedroom 200. This is a passageway that went to 202, converted to a closet, but we're using that closet space as a bathroom. So we're sealing that up. We're putting a wall in on the opposite side, but we're going to take this door and fix it in place so that we preserve the history of that door. The stairwell we will be redoing, and we're setting the stairs farther back. We do have that coved ceiling in the dining room that we have to watch out for, but we can cut into this probably up to about here. And the nice thing about that is that it gives us a larger landing in this space. In here, you know, we chose not to go into the attic above this part of the house, so we dropped the ceiling a little bit so we could run utilities. So we used to be able to walk directly through there, and the stairwell, or the two stairs, the stairs used to be right here, coming down to this part of the addition. And we reconfigured the passageway so that it is on the outside. All the plumbing is roughed in up here for these three guest rooms, 205, 207, and 209. Right here, there's a chimney. And I think since you were here, we removed the back of the chimney. I think that's it. That's all I want to cover.